All right, may I have your attention, please? All right, please show Kenny and Rebecca your respect this afternoon. Kenny's going to present his trip to Japan. Please give him a round of applause.
Okay. Oh, God. I'm so nervous. Hey guys, my name is Kenny Behrens, and I went to Japan. Of course, anyone sitting here today will know that already, but it's great to reassure yourself that, oh boy, I just went to Japan. Those were the 10 best days of my entire life. Because, well, it can almost be like, did that really just happen sometimes? So the trip to Japan, first some backstory. Now, as many of you know, I didn't have the best of summers last year, and soon after I returned to school and just thought, yeah, I'll get past this year and think about college and all this stuff. And went on my days like usual. Oh, the surprise that awaited me a few months afterwards. Now on this one particular day, we had an assembly led by none other than Chris Corbett and Connor Zook, who asked a certain question. I can't remember specifically, but it goes along the lines of, if there was a place in the world you wanted to go to, where would it be? Now I just thought, might as well raise my hand and say Japan. And that is where dreams turn into reality. Because as they called me down, they gave me this. With these, I was on a cruise course with Japan, and after a few more months, I was heading to the airport in Traverse City during spring break. I ended up sitting through a relatively short flight from Traverse to Chicago, then a 13-hour flight from Chicago to Narita. Oh, I can still feel it. It was a long flight, and dear Lord, was it a really exhaustive one too. By the time we arrived in Narita, we beelined it for our hotel and slept until the next day. And that's where the fun begins. The trip was a full 10 days. 3 of those were spent exploring Tokyo, another 3 exploring Kyoto. 1 off to see Mount Fuji, and another spent in Osaka to see the castle and get ready for the flight back home. That would take 10 hours from Osaka to LAX, which is a terrible airport, by the way, do not go there. Then flying back to Chicago for a short flight to Traverse. During this trip, we spent each day having a look at the various places of Tokyo, visiting Tokyo Tower, the Tsukiji Fish Market, Akihabara, Ueno Park, and various other temples, shrines, and other strange and cool places. Then we took a trip to Mount Fuji and other various nearby places, walking up over 600 steps to take several fantastic pictures and sightsee in general. Then we took 3 days in Kyoto exploring the beauty of the city, having a walk through a bamboo forest, and seeing the general aesthetic that the city gave off. All the while seeing the various temples around the city, having a look at the Kyoto Handicraft Center and the Nishijin Textile Center, which, by the way, is where I got this bad boy. And spent a night in a ryokan, which was nice. Then, for the final day, we went to Osaka and had a look at Osaka Castle before waiting for the next day to fly out to Los Angeles. Now, we pretty much went to so many different places that we could go on and on explaining what we did and where we went, that we'd be here all day. However, to make this much easier, I have a video ready showing you all of that and much, much more. So without further ado, I present to you a piece of our trip to the land of the rising sun.
Hey, Sissy. Hello. We're in, is it Chicago O'Hare?
Yep,
Chicago O'Hare Airport right now. currently waiting for Narita, the plane for Tokyo Narita to arrive so we can get on and leave. Probably going to go to our local McDonald's in the airport real quickly soon to have lunch. Other than that, though, nothing really major. For right now, though, I guess we'll continue this in the next clip or picture or whichever one this is going to go to. So, yep. Say hi again.
Bye.
It was a dark and stormy day in Chicago. Wait. Nope, sorry. Wrong story. Not right. It was a nice and lovely day when we left on the plane for Narita from Chicago O'Hare to Tokyo. During that time, we saw many places from our little seat in the plane. Finally, we arrived in Tokyo and saw various things like this in front of the lobby of our hotel room before taking a selfie of us in the hotel room, because why not? Afterwards, though, we decided to finally fall asleep because we were really tired.
Hey guys, we're currently looking at the fish market, the Tsukiji. How do you say it?
I think it's Tsujiki.
Okay, Tsujiki food and fish market. It's not going to be open until 9 to the public. So we've just been we've been looking through there we go, at the various buildings and that kind of thing around the fish market, and then we've and then we've been at a shrine, shrine, not a temple, a shrine, that was nearby. So that's what we're currently doing. We're going to be going to the fish market really soon, I'm sure. For now, though, we're just going to wait until it's 9, and then we're going to go. So, see you guys in the next clip. Bye!
While waiting for the Tsukiji fish market to finally open and look around, we decided to just simply stroll around the place looking at various elements of the town. But the Tsukiji fish market finally opened.
Oh, look at those are pretty.
Yeah, those are really nice. Actually, those fish seem rather clean. Crab. This place is really big, Constancy. This is nifty. What is this? Oh. What kind of fish do you think it is?
I don't know.
That's all nifty. Only at the fish market. Oh, is he? No. Just doing something like Yep. You see those crabs moving, guys? Those crabs are actually living. Wow. Yeah.
Finally, we went and explored some parts of Tokyo, ranging from areas like the street to the big old Tokyo Tower, which looks a lot like the Eiffel Tower, only a lot more redder. We headed up to the observation deck to have a look at the skyline of the city, before heading down to look at this. Yes, that is a temple down there, and we went and explored it. It is huge. Very, very huge. So huge, in fact, that, well, even the smaller buildings are kind of big by comparison. Heck, even the gate is huge. I mean, look at that beast right there. It is amazing. Disregarding my amazement, Zozoji, as this temple is known, was a very interesting place to go. Hey, it's me and the cherry blossoms.
Yep, the cherry blossoms were out and about so much that even it couldn't compare to the amount of people that were there. You know what? Let me retract that statement about there being far less people than there were cherry blossoms. Yes, and while my attempts to be funny during this little trip where, well, you can decide that for yourself, we went to that big building behind there, was the Ueno Park Museum, where, after seeing the umbrellas in the front, we figured out they tried to keep the moisture out so that way it doesn't screw around with this. In general, the museum had a lot of interesting things, such as like this little Buddha statue right here, a writing box, which is what this is supposed to be, and just a bunch of other various interesting trinkets, like this. I will be honest, I have no idea what this is, so you should probably ask my sister what it is. And of course, the swords! Yes, there was a lot of swords there. A lot of interesting little blades and the various little pieces that go along with it, like these little protection hilts, that kind of thing. And of course, the bunnies. Yes, there were actually a couple bunnies around in the museum, including like from that little black thing to this white bunny right here. All of them very interesting. Speaking of which, I feel like I'm forgetting something. Oh yeah! Continuing on our journey, we ended up hopping a train straight to Sensoji, which usually begins with this. Yes, that is a big gate with a very, very big lantern. A very huge lantern, in fact. So huge, in fact, that yes, you could fit people under there, and probably in it. It was really cool. Exploring the rest of Sensoji, including stuff like this, we ended up going afterwards straight to somewhere else, which I highly consider is one of my favorites. Akihabara is essentially Otaku Central, having many things including action figures, manga, video games, and various other little elements that are really, really interesting. Yes, you can probably see Bloodborne in the background there, yes. I'm waiting for that game. We explored Akihabara, looking at all the various things, before finally we decided to stop at a KFC. Yes, that is me standing in front of a KFC. I'm out to have chicken. After a little adventure in Akihabara, we ended up jumping on a train going straight for Mount Fuji, including stopping at various other places, like this little shrine with, well, a lot of stairs, and a really nice view of Mount Fuji. That was tiring, but at least it was worth it. We took the Mount Kachikachi Railway right up to this mountain to have another nice look at Mount Fuji, and of course, take a selfie. It was a really nice place, to be honest, and it even had some nice food. No, Sissy didn't exactly like it as well as I thought she would. Afterwards, we returned to Tokyo to have a nice little stop at Shibuya and see its many lights and huge crowds, yes. And, of course, the Hachinko statue, aka best dog in the world. After Mount Fuji, we were ready for Kyoto, but something went wrong.
Why are you feeling heartbroken?
Because the train just left, and I have no idea why.
I thought it was a train.
What the
北陸線はお乗り換えです。米原を出ますと、次は京都に停まります。
Traveling 284 miles from Tokyo to Kyoto, we finally arrived in Kyoto to head straight for our ryokan, which, by the way, the room looks like this. Yes, rather minimalist, don't you think? Very nice, very nice. Having the tubs that can fit me inside. My tub cannot fit me back at home. We went to the Nishiki market, exploring all kinds of things, having a look at all the foods, all of the interesting stuff they had, and buying a couple things on our way out before finally returning to the ryokan to watch this.
So the answer's where the tables go.
Huh?
So the answer's where the tables go.
Oh.
Arigatou gozaimasu. Arigatou.
After a little stay on the ryokan, we went to Arashiyama to have a look at the bamboo groves. And oh boy, was the bamboo actually rather interesting. It was really pretty that day, in fact. So pretty that we even took another selfie. Selfies. We continued exploring various parts of Kyoto, looking at just the pure beauty of the place. I mean, this place was really pretty. Look at that. That is just beautiful. It was really pretty that day. And we really had a nice little time just walking around and having a look at various things. One of those places that we really had a look at was Kinkakuji, otherwise known to us as the Golden Pavilion. We ended up taking a couple pictures here, having a nice little look at various parts of the temple in general. And it was just a really nice place to be. It was really, really cool. And of course, like always, they have these little Buddhist incense prayer. The next day afterwards, we were starting to explore Kyoto again, going under the biggest archway I've ever seen to head to the Heian Shrine, doing funny poses on our way in. The Heian Shrine, by the way, is this. It is a really massive building with a very huge plain, and it was just really nice. After our brief visit at the shrine, we ended up stopping at the Kyoto Handicraft Center where we got a lot of our stuff before moving on to Nanzenji, this very huge temple that, unfortunately, I didn't really go into because I was getting really tired and I had to sit down for a minute. And many other places we ended up visiting, all the meanwhile seeing smaller things like this. On the final day in Kyoto, we ended up visiting Fushimi Inari, a very large shrine that I really wanted to see because it is awesome. If the fact then that the foxes in the front don't impress you, then oh boy, will the gates in the back definitely do that for you. I mean, if this one doesn't impress you first of all, then this many will. That's right. Right behind the actual shrine itself is a series of walkways made out of a bunch of archways. All of these made with specific inscriptions on them that are very awesome.
後ろ私が進まへんかったら進まない。
Some it's really long. Like if you just look out through the thing there, you can see the side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think of it?
It's really cool. Like, you gotta wonder how long it took for them to put all of these in.
A long time, I would imagine.
seems we've reached the
Wala pang tao. Wala pang tao. Nilay ko na sa mukha.
On our way out of Fushimi Inari, we stopped at a couple little side stores that were selling food. Each of these had some rather unique little items, ranging from, of course, things that looked similar to what Sissy ate at the ropeway to this. Dear Lord, it looks like a choking fish. And finally, catching a train to Osaka, we decided to make one last stop at a certain place, Osaka Castle. A marvel of Japanese engineering, we had a nice time exploring what this castle was like during the modern day. Of course, though, all things must come to an end.
So, final thoughts.
Japan has been very great. It's been awesome. It has been an awesome trip. But I am exhausted. And with those parting words, we finally left Osaka to Kansai and got on a plane back for LAX, which is again a terrible airport. So that is the end of our Japan trip. I hope you enjoyed it. And now for a little final bonus. Oh, me and my gaming obsessions.
So with that out of the way, any questions, anyone?
Do a little question and answer.
Oh, I think I can speak loud enough. So, on your journey, did you learn any Japanese words?
Sumimasen.
Meaning?
I'm sorry. I would have excuse me.
It means both. Sumimasen is excuse me and I'm sorry. Like a light I'm sorry, but if you run into somebody, it won't be quite enough sorry.
Any other words?
Konnichiwa.
Which is?
Was it good afternoon or was it good morning?
Kind of like a good day.
Because I think it's more like a, usually I thought it was good morning, but apparently.
Ohio is good morning.
What's your favorite part of Thanksgiving?
The Tsukiji Fish Market. It was strangely enough, it was my most favorite part, even though it was also by far the strangest one in there. Like, I thought for a minute I would like Akihabara because that is usually where all the stuff I usually like is, but I strangely liked the fish market over it all. It was just like, it was a bunch of strange looking and interesting fish. There was even crabs moving in this one little crate there. That was that one clip back there at the end of the fish market there.
Had you read the story about the dog at the train station?
Hachinko?
Yeah.
Yes, about how he stayed there for his master to come back, and even though he didn't really.
Now that you've been, would you like to go back again?
Yes, very much so.
But not through LAX.
Not through LAX, terrible airport. The guy at the counter scared me.
When we came into LAX, I don't know if anybody's ever flown through there.
Yes.
The international terminal is not connected to the other terminals. So we had to leave the international terminal. And even though in Japan they had checked our luggage through to Traverse City, they actually, LAX won't transfer your luggage, so you have to pick it back up and then take it back through to somebody else and have it drop back off. So we had to pick up our luggage, drop our luggage off, leave that terminal, try to figure out where we were supposed to be for the next terminal, walk to the next terminal, and when we got in there was a spot to check in for your flight, but we had checked in Japan. We had such a long layover that they couldn't tell us what gate we were supposed to go to. So they just had us like hop into a security line to like, get into the terminal. And we went through the first line they told us to go into. We got to the end and the guy said, you're in the wrong security line over here. So we got into a different line. We just stood there and stood there and stood there. And then somebody came around and grabbed like 10 of us off the end of the line and drug us through another spot. And I've flown a lot in the past, so, you know, security does things a certain way, except for if you're in LAX, it's totally different than everywhere else in the world. So the security guy was yelling at us, he was yelling at Kenny, and he was just hadn't eaten his Wheaties in the morning. So by the time we got in there, we were just so over LAX.
If there was one play, only one reason why I would go back to LAX, it would probably be because of the pizza place there.
So did you eat much of the native food there?
I did eat sushi and I did eat something called yatsuhashi. The sushi I didn't much care for, I will admit that. The yatsuhashi I actually liked. Says he did not like it.
We also had like pastries. He had pastries in the morning.
Yeah, there wasn't that after we got back pretty much.
But we give it for breakfast.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I knew going over, I don't know if anybody really knows Kenny, but he's a really picky eater. He's very particular about what he eats. So we knew that going in, and I had actually bought from Sam's Club a case of Pop-Tarts and a case of granola bars and a case of some breakfast bars, and we actually took those with us so that he would have something to eat, because I knew he wasn't going to appreciate the food.
It's a large majority of it.
Yeah.
Still like the sweets.
Pat?
What were inside the temples, like historical stuff, or?
Well, there was like some statues of Buddha sometimes went there. We know that much.
Some statuary. There were a couple of spots where it looked like there were seats where people were going in, and I don't know what kind of religious rites they do. I'm not familiar at all with that. So there were people going in and paying whatever respects that they pay. So we would like go up the stairs, and there would be an outer kind of like patio type stuff, and then there would be an inner section for the most part. And we had gone out to the patio, but we didn't actually go in.
What's your favorite treasure you brought home?
What is my favorite treasure I brought home from there? Can I say I have two?
Of course.
Yeah, that's cool.
The other one is it is a katana, which is a type of Japanese sword. This one in particular is designed and has symbols that are based off of the Tokugawa shogunate from Japan, which I recognize from the Sengoku era kind of based stuff.
But you couldn't bring it to school.
No.
I was just going to ask, you went over there with expectations. What surprised you the most that you weren't maybe not expecting?
That there wasn't Diet Coke there.
Because they have vending machines everywhere, right?
Yes, but there was no Diet Coke. It was like just Coca-Cola and like on occasion maybe like a single Mountain Dew in one vending machine. That was it.
They don't. It's not a brand that they carry. They don't carry Diet Coke. They carry regular Coca-Cola, Coke Zero, and something they call Coke Life, which I haven't tried.
I've seen that. They have it at the little store here in town.
We saw it when we got back the first time. But he likes Diet Coke, and we couldn't get us any Diet Coke the whole time he was there.
Were there candies like our candies?
That is a good question, Sissy.
We saw in one shop in one of the train stations, we saw like candy bars, but the sweets that they have over there, even though they're very sweet, like they're seriously sweet, and they're kind of, a lot of it is real gummy, and a lot of it is made out of rice and bean paste. But it's crazy sweet.
I was just put in one thing. The Yatsuhashi in particular had red bean paste inside.
Right, so
It was still really good.
the stuff he's mentioning is, it almost looks like a ravioli, and the outside is a rice flour.
It's like a rice flour mixed with cinnamon and sugar.
Mixed with cinnamon and sugar, and it's rolled out, and then they're filled with a red bean paste, so it looks like a ravioli.
And that's if they're uncooked.
But they're uncooked, right? And then they have like a fried or baked.
Yeah, like a baked version.
A baked version.
I liked it, Sissy did it.
How soon after you got home did you have your first pizza?
LAX.
They have pizza there too, but as a friend of mine that lived over there said, it's more just pizza in shape because they don't really have cheese like our cheese, so it didn't taste. The sauce was weird, but the cheese was absolutely horrible, and the dough tasted a little funny too. So
Yeah, I didn't like the pizza there.
So you run across a lot of good people, nice people, where's everybody?
Yeah, there were a lot of really cool. There were a lot of people there that were really kind to us. So there are actually a lot of people there that actually speak English, despite what the book and some people told us. And like almost everyone there was really polite and nice to us in general.
So how did you communicate with them if there was no language barrier? Or how did you communicate with them if you wanted something?
we were told, I'll step away.
What was that?
A little feedback from me. We were told when we were first making our plans that there was going to be pretty much nobody that was going to speak English. Whether that's a combination of people that just don't know how to speak English or they were just too embarrassed or too shy to actually speak English. So we thought we were going to be going into a country not being able to speak the language at all, and we found that to not be true. Tokyo and Osaka especially, everybody spoke English. Sometimes it was a patchwork English, so between the little bit that I knew in Japanese and the English that they spoke and charades, we managed to make it just fine.
There was only one instance in Tokyo, and it involved walking back to our hotel room when the maid was cleaning up.
She didn't speak any English, and I don't have any idea what she was trying to say to us, except for that I kind of got the impression she wanted to kick us back out. And all I could say to her was, what did they say?
I have no idea.
I don't even want to say, I guess, which means I don't understand, and she just kind of looked dejected and stood there and stared at us. So we just turned around and left the hotel. We were just going to try to drop some
Alright,
things
we'll be
off.
back later, just, yeah, we'll be back later.
We had some people that were surprised that we didn't go with a tour group. That was something that was mentioned to us, and we actually had a lady in Traverse that works for a travel agency who tried to hook us up with a tour group. Kenny and I knew that there were places we wanted to see that were going to be off the beaten path, and we didn't want to have somebody telling us where to go all the time. So we opted to plan our own trip and not be in a tour group. And we spent a good portion of the trip watching these tours get herded around like sheep. And we kept saying, man, I'm so glad we're not in a tour group. Awful. So it went really smooth. We didn't have any problems getting around. The very first day we walked in the wrong entrance of the train station, the subway station, but we didn't have problems getting around the country. We didn't have problems with the language barrier. And we were pretty happy.
It was a really good trip there.
So anything that you want to do it if or when you go back?
Is there anything that you would want to do if you went back? Did you miss anything?
Well, I would certainly want to go and try an onsen at this time, which is a Japanese bathhouse. Really, since, well, I'll be honest, since anime in general tends to have that at least once an episode.
The red, whatever gates, how many were there?
They're called torii gates. I kind of forgot how to call them.
There's torii gates in Fushimi Inari. There's 10,000 of them that line the walkways behind the main shrine. And the shrine it's a shrine and things like that. And the shrines were donated by businesses that have inscribed, or the torii gates were donated by businesses that have inscribed them to bring prosperity in business. So there's 10,000 of them back there.
Corey wanted to know more about the fish.
In the fish market?
Yes. He loves fish.
Well,
Anything else about
What's the biggest fish you've seen?
There you go.
I saw a fish. I saw a red fish with some really big eyes. I don't have much, but
The tuna are probably the largest fish.
insane.
Tuna are actually really huge, and they have specialized knives that are basically as long as swords that they
They
use
look
to
like
process.
actual katanas themselves. That's what I thought.
And it takes like 2 or 3 guys, but they process all that fish by hand. So, 2 or 3 guys will use their sword-sized knives to start breaking it down. But there was anything you can imagine that came out of the ocean was at that fish market.
Yes, including some really small fish with some really small eyes, as you recalled several times. Don't you? It was like in the meals sometimes.
Right, this clip from the fish market where the first clip is at, the dried fish, and they're really, really tiny, like little fry type fish, and they sprinkle them on the rice. So you go to eat your rice and you look down and there's this little fish, and because it's dried, like its eyeballs are the biggest thing, so you've got these little itty bitty eyeballs staring back at you as you eat your rice.
What's Japanese for no eyeballs? That would have been helpful, right?
Any other questions?
Anyone else?
At the end, you showed that thing that looked like an ice cream cone with ice cream in it that was shaped in a fish. What was that? Was that ice cream?
Yeah, what was that actually?
It was not ice cream, it was a fish-shaped, almost like a waffle, and on the inside was Frosted Flakes, I think, Tony the Tiger, cereal, and then whipped cream and a strawberry and some chocolate. And whatever batter it was they used to make like the waffle had it completely cooked in the very bottom, but it was almost like a custardy type flavor, so it was kind of like there was custard and there was a custard surprise at the very bottom of the fish. It was, I played mystery meal the whole time I was there. I didn't know what I was eating, but I just figured I'd try it.
So pretty much you were eating fish choking on whatever that was.
Cereal. It was a waffle fish.
I will point out, we also during our trip to, was it Kyoto? Or was it Mount Fuji? That we had found a Waffle House. And literally, instead of like having like waffles that had syrup poured over them, it was like these waffles that had like maple flavored or strawberry flavored, and they had like this flavoring in them essentially.
Yeah, they were like real Belgian waffles in the Japanese train station. So.
Good start.
Right. We actually ate a lot of stuff that we could take out. So I would like pick up a bento box in the train station before we take a train ride, and I don't know what any of it means, so I would just grab a bento box and hope for the best.
Question. Can I ask back a question? What was your favorite part, since you were there for 10 days too?
That's a good question. I think I really liked the fish market too. That was a pretty good start. And I enjoyed the train rides.
How fast was the train going?
Was it they wanted to see the bamboo grove as well?
Yeah, the bamboo grove was gorgeous. the second question you had was how fast was the train going? When we took the train from Tokyo to Kyoto, we were on the Shinkansen, which had the particular train we were on has a max operating speed of 185 miles an hour, I think it was. We did not do that speed, and we made frequent stops, but we still went 285 miles per hour. Wow. So even with frequent stops, we were probably over 100 miles an hour. The video that you showed, though, on a train where everything's green and there's like steam, that's from the Shinkansen, so it doesn't feel like you're going that fast.
But I mean, that's because everything's far away, and...
Yeah, it didn't feel like they were going as fast as we were, so I was really shocked when suddenly we heard that Kyoto was like the next stop, so.
Why does it do that?
It's just feedback. Any other questions?
Feedback.